of the 37th National Coconut Week, among other issues and concerns. Now, we are joined by Department of Energy, represented by DOE Assistant Secretary Mario Carasiga, and the Electric Power Industry Management Bureau, Assistant Director Luningning Baltazar, to discuss updates, issues, and concerns from the DOE. May we once again now call on PIA Director General Undersecretary Jose A. Torres Jr. for his opening statement for the second part of the PIA press conference, now with the Department of Energy.
Thank you very much once again, and good morning ulit sa mga kasama natin sa media. Maraming salamat sa inyong patuloy na pagdalo at sa nanatili dito sa second part ng ating press conference. We would like also to thank the Department of Energy for partnering with the Philippine Information Agency in providing us an avenue for discussion between the government and the media, and ultimately with the people, of course, as through the media. We look forward to a significant discussion with all of you and meaningful questions para maipabot natin sa taong bayan ang mga kailangan natin ipabot. So, welcome and thank you very much, mga guests.
Thank you, Director General Jose A. Torres Jr. Before we turn over the floor to our guests for today, I will give them a short introduction. Marco C. Marasigan is a Career Service Officer 3 who currently serves as Assistant Secretary of the Philippine Department of Energy. Asset Marasigan supervises the Electric Power Industry Management Bureau, which he served as Director for more than 5 years prior to his appointment as Assistant Secretary. EPIMB is mandated to oversee the implementation of electric power industry, restructuring to establish a competitive market-based environment, encourage private sector participation, ensure adequate, efficient, and reliable supply of electricity, and formulate plans, programs, and strategies relative to rural electrification. Asset Marasigan also serves as Director for the Renewable Energy Management Bureau, which handles overall administration, regulation, and promotion of renewable energy resources development in the country. Meanwhile, our other speaker is Assistant Director Luningning Baltazar. She is an active public servant with almost 30 years of service in the government. Her nearly 25 years of public service has been dedicated to policy formulation and program development for the energy sector under the employment of the Department of Energy. 15 years of her experience revolves mainly around the monitoring, evaluation, policy formulation, and program development for the effective implementation of Republic Act No. 9136 for the Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001. She recently served as a division chief for 7 years of the Power Market Development Division with a natural flair for policy analysis. With that, we would like to ask our guests, Assistant Secretary Marasigan and Assistant Director Baltazar, for their opening statements and their discussions for this day's second part of the press conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction at magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. We would like first to express our utmost gratitude to the Philippine Information Agency, to DG Jose Torres Jr., for giving us an avenue to convey what important messages we have from the Department of Energy. In fact, alam naman natin na napakamasalimuot yung ating electric power industry or even the entire energy sector. But this morning, we would like to focus on ano yung pinaka-urgent matter na we need to discuss with the public, no? And this pertains to the Lifeline Rate Subsidy Program under the Electric Power Industry Act or EPIRA of 2001. This Lifeline Rate Program actually started immediately after the implementation of the EPIRA law, no? Kaya lang, it was extended way back in 2021 for another 10 years. And then, pagdating no, first it was extended for 10 years kasi 10 years lang yung tenure niya. Na-extend siya for another 10 years and then in 2021, na-extend siya giving a life of 50 years. So hanggang 2051 na siya. Kaya lang sa regulations natin, nagkaroon ng mga pagbabago. At ito yung nais namin ipaalam sa ating publiko, no? Kasi gusto natin marami yung maka-avail. Ang lifeline rate program kasi pertains to yung mga maliliit ang konsumo ng kuryente. Kaya lang noon, nakabase lang yan kung ano yung konsumo natin ng kuryente. Pero sa ngayon, dahil dun sa extension, in-identify natin sino ba yung mga karapat-dapat na mga consumer ng electricity natin ang pwedeng makatanggap. At meron kaming mga kalatas na kinakailangan gawin ng ating mga consumer para po sila mag-qualify. So dito po namin gustong ipahayag dito sa press ko na ito at naniniwala po kami na sa kakayanan ng PIA at sa malawakang avenue po na binibigay nila sa iba't ibang tanggaran ng ating pamahalaan upang makapaghatid po ng magandang balita. So maraming salamat po at magandang umaga sa inyong lahat muli. At bibigyan daan ko po si Assistant Director Lulingling Baltasar para magbigay ng kabuoang larawan kung ano yung ating tinatawag na Lifeline Rate Subsidy Program. Maraming salamat po ulit.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Asek Mario, and to our host for today, Director General, good morning sa lahat po. So, can I go straight to the reading materials? Next slide, please. Okay, so as introduced by Asek Mario, Asek Manasigan, the implementation of Lifeline Rate Program started way back in 2001 under Section 78 Regula. So it allowed, this is the only remaining subsidy to be implemented for a period of 10 years unless implemented by law. And this is defined as a socialized pricing mechanism that is to be set and approved by the ERC based on consumption threshold. And in 2010, in 2011, there is another extension that was made after the implementation period of 10 years, extending the lifetime rate program for another 10 years or up to 2021. However, the implementation remains to be based on consumption threshold without distinguishing whether you're marginalized or you're under the 40s, because it was difficult there to determine for the DUs who are these households. So with that, we conducted a study in 2021 together with the ERC and the DSWD on how to make the implementation of the program more targeted, and with the impending also of the anticipated end of the Lifeline Rate program in 2021 and the subsequent recommendation by our legislative body to extend the implementation, mainly coming from the recommendation from the Office of the President, PLLO, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry. That would be to extend the implementation by another 30 years. And thus the passage of Republic Act 11552 extending the implementation for up to 2021. So the Lifeline Rate program, all in all, will be implemented for a total of 50 years. And with the 11552 Republic Act, we are targeting the beneficiaries, that would be the 40s and the low income, so which we will identify together with the help of the DSWD and the PSA Philippine Statistics Authority. And the same would be approved by the ERC because it's within the jurisdiction of the ERC to approve the rates to be imposed. And then we have envisioned that there should be a simple registration system to assist our 40s and the marginalized consumer, and as well our distribution utility who will be handling mainly the registration of the 40s and the marginalized. Next slide. Okay, so in 2022, we came up with the ERC, DOE, and DSWD Joint Resolution number 1, series of 2022. This is the implementing rules and regulations Public Act number 11552. Next slide. Okay, so what then is a lifeline rate? So as defined under the EPIRA, it is a pricing mechanism, a socialized pricing mechanism intended for the marginalized end users of electricity to be set by the ERC, exempted from the cross-subsidy phase out, as I mentioned earlier, and extended up to 2051. So the subsidy is shared by non-lifeline consumers such as us, or I'm not sure if there is a lifeline consumer among us, and including those residential, commercial, establishment, and other types of consumers. Next slide. Okay, so under Public Act 11552, there is already a distinction, or this act identified who will be the beneficiaries. So there are two types of beneficiaries. That would be the 4Ps as identified under the 4Ps Act, if I'm not mistaken, RA 10130, or the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program. And the list was provided to us by the DSWD. So we collaborated with the DSWD in coming up with the IRR. And then another one would be, if they are not in the list of the 4Ps, but they are living below the poverty threshold set by the PSA. So the poverty threshold would be the amount set for an individual or a family to be provided with their basic needs as identified by the PSA. So the consumption, there are conditions of being a beneficiary of lifetime rate. So your consumption should fall only under, within or below the threshold set by the ERC. But if you're with 4P beneficiary, or you are certified as a marginalized customer living under poverty threshold, you can still avail, even if you, for this month, you have the higher consumption or above the threshold. But the main consideration will be you are 4P or you are a marginalized customer. And then, but you should be registered. Our customers should be registered with the distribution utility for them to avail of the discounts. And they can only avail of the discount for one electric service account registered in the name of the 4P and or the marginalized end user. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the registration requirements? So there are, as mentioned, there are two types of beneficiaries. So for the 4Ps, you have to fill out the application form. You have to show your 4P or any valid government issued ID and your latest electricity bill. So there's a picture of the application form there, which can be downloaded at the BU website or Facebook page or social media account, at the ERC, DOE, and DSW websites also, and social media accounts. For the non-4Ps, there is additional requirement. You have to secure SWD, also for the development officer, 6 months valid certification that your family income is below the poverty threshold. So if you do not have that certification, you have to get that from the social welfare and development officer. Next slide, please. Okay, this is just to show you what are the threshold or your consumption limit that is approved by the ERC. So as you can see, the maximum threshold would be 100, and that's for a number of 7 distribution utilities. I think this is mainly private distribution utilities because these are the larger distribution utilities wherein there are a significant number of customers can actually contribute to the subsidies. While in terms of those with the lower threshold, that would be 20 kilowatt hour, around 57 distribution utilities for electric cooperatives mainly. And then we have 30, so as you can see there are different thresholds set by the ERC. So these thresholds were studied by the ERC to determine how much, what would be the ability of the subsidizing customers for them to to share in this action. Next slide, please. So, for additional information, the deadline of registration is the deadline of registration. There is no deadline of registration. End users may register as long as RA 11.52 is in effect. So, that will be until 2051. But the full implementation, meaning from the old scheme that is only based on consumption, to the new scheme wherein we qualify the beneficiaries to 4Ps only and the marginalized, that will start by September 2023. So meaning by September 2023, only those who are registered with their distribution utility can avail or can be, our host bill can be applied with discounts. So they are the only one who can avail of the discount, and then the discount for those previously availing will be terminated on the next slide. So there is a waiver of the general rule, meaning the 4P as the owner of the account. So there are 4Ps we understand that are member of the household, but the account or the electric service account is not under their name. So with that, they can also register. They just need to provide a proof, so additional requirement that they are living in that household and that they are a member of that household. So in case also that they are renting the dwelling unit, they can also register, but all of this situation will be subject to the further verification of the DU, whether the 4P member is actually living in that dwelling unit. So they can show the proof of actual occupancy. They can secure a certificate from their barangay, or they can show other documents such as yung possible if there is a contract of lease or yung rent nila with the dwelling unit or the house, or are there bills na pwede nilang i-present as proof na nakatira talaga sila. So I just reiterate that all of these should be subject to verification by the DU. Next slide, please. Okay. Registration to a representative is allowed. So we understand some of our 4Ps may have work during the time na open yung offices ng ating distribution utilities, or they may be incapable, baka senior na or merong sakit, then they can send a representative. They can just issue a letter of authority specifying the reasons for inability to personally file the application for the registration. And then the authority should come with a valid government issued ID, both of the 4P member and the representative. So in case naman that you transfer, so I think this will be moving forward na since mag-start pa lang naman tayo this September. In case of transfer, then can they still avail of the benefits of the lifeline? Yes. They just need to undergo to some process. Kung the same DU franchise area lang naman, then magkakaroon lang ng updating ng residential address. And then for ibang DU naman, kung halimbawa from Meralco franchise area, lumipat ako sa Batangas, which is being served by Batelec 1, then I have to be untagged or ita-cancel ni old DU ng Meralco yung akong certificate. And then the new DU, the Batelec 1, can issue a new certificate for me to avail of the lifeline rate. There are disqualifications also. So, sino yung mga disqualified end users? Of course, those living in subdivisions or condominiums, except for doon sa na-identify natin talaga na nagiging residential area ng mga 4Ps or marginalized, such as those under government projects, duly certified by the LGUs. And then, end users with net metering, of course, 4Ps, medyo mahirap naman na mag-put up And then, of course, end users found to be in violation of the Anti-Patronage Act or Republic Act 78. Next slide. I think that's the end of the briefing materials. Thank you very much for using this.
Thank you, ma'am. At this point, we now open the floor for questions from our media partners. You may use the microphones in front of you. May we just remind you to kindly state your name and the media organization you represent, and state who you would like to direct the question to.
Hello po, Shaila Francisco from TV5. I have two questions. Una po, kamusta po yung turnout ng registration natin for the live planning program? And then second, maybe you can just give a range kung hindi po sila nag-avail nitong live planning program, magkano yung idadagdag sa kanilang bill sa kuryente? Kasi I understand before, subsidized po sila. So kung hindi sila nag-avail, may madadagdag po talaga.
Thank you very much for dun sa question. No? Number one, yung current namin monitoring ng mga nag-register. As of August 4, yung latest namin, it's 16,992 out of the potential 4.2 million households. So, napakababa pa. No, pertaining naman to sa second question mo, actually, baka magkaroon tayo ng misinterpretation. Walang pagtaas ng presyo ng kuryente. Ang mangyayari lang is mawawala yung diskwento. So for example, dun sa mga 20 kilowatt-hour user, kung sa halip na 20 pesos dito sa Meralco franchise area, halimbawa natin, no? Kung 20 kilowatt-hour consumer ka lang, ang babayaran mo dapat is hanggang 20 pesos lang. Pero kung hindi ka na-qualified at by September, hindi ka na-register, ang babayaran mo is aabot na ng mga 130 pesos. Kasi yung ating sa Meralco franchise area, 100% yung subsidy program natin for 20 kilowatt-hour consumers and below. Kaya lang, paliwanag ko, hindi pare-parehas yan sa lahat ng distribution utilities and electric cooperatives. Sa Meralco, para mapalawak yung kanilang potential na beneficiaries, nagkaroon sila ng proportionate o yung meron silang staggered rate ng kanilang diskwento na inapprove naman ng Energy Regulatory Commission. So, hinati nila sa apat yung kanilang mga consumer. Yung mga una, yung mga consumer na hanggang 20 kilowatt-hour consumption, tapos ang susunod 21 hanggang 50, tapos yung susunod 51 hanggang 70, and then yung susunod 71 hanggang 100 kilowatt-hour. So, ibig sabihin, hanggang 100 kilowatt-hour consumers, may diskwento sila. Pero yung diskwento ng 20 kilowatt-hour consumer, kakaiba dun sa diskwento. So, dun sa 20 kilowatt-hour consumer, 100% yun. Ang babayaran na lang nila yung talagang basic fee, no? Wala na yung generation cost, system losses, wala na yun. Pero pagdating dun sa sa 71 hanggang 100 kilowatt-hour consumer, hindi siya 100% ng diskwento. Somewhere around 20% na lang yung diskwento. Thank you.
Sir, clarify ko lang, yung at least dun sa 20 kilowatt households ng consumers, yung basic fee, anong kalakip ba? Para maintindihan.
Medyo mahirap yung context ko nun, ano? So, magre-request ako kay Assistant Director Ning para doon sa listahan ng mga inclusive doon sa 20 pesos payment. Director Ning?
Thank you, Asek. So, yung basic fee actually, 5 pesos na metering charge fixed, and then probably some portion of the yung universal charge ina-apply pa rin natin, and the it all kung meron but currently suspended, and some part of the taxes na medyo maliit pa rin siya. Thank you.
Ellen Sanchez po from Net25. Tanong ko lang po kung meron ba tayong figures kung ilan yung households na kumukonsumo lang ng 20 kilowatt per kilowatt hour. Meron po ba nun sa panahon ito?
Ang pwede lang natin ibigay yung figure na nagre-represent ang isang distribution utility, no? At siguro ang example natin dito ay yung sa Meralco. Meron tayong latest figure sa Meralco.
Sa ganun, sir, kadetalye, pero sir, ano po ang sa average lang natin, makikita niyo naman yung datos sa clear. Naka-average lang tayo sa mga lifeliner 40 kilowatt-hour consumption. Medyo konti na lang din yung 20 kilowatt-hour kung tutusin natin siya dahil average ay nasa 40 for the entire Philippines.
So, wala po kayo exact figure since meron kayong pag-aaral na kung magkano ibibigay natin. Pero nakuha nyo nga po yung 20 kilowatt-hour na consume ng ating households, di ba? So, wala po kayong datos kung 1 million ba yan, 200,000 ba yun po?
Okay. Ipapaliwanag ko po pagdating doon sa datos to. As mentioned namin kanina, hindi po pare-parehas ang bawat distribution utility or electric cooperative sa pag-i-implement. Yun pong Meralco, for example, na may franchise area dito sa National Capital Region, ini-apply po nila sa ERC, na po ba, na hati-hatiin yung subsidy. Pero karamihan po ng ating mga distribution utility or yung ating, lalong-lalo na yung ating mga electric cooperatives, hindi po nila pinoproportionate yun. Sa kanila po, kay 20 ka, kay 50, one time yan, 28, ito lang yung diskwento mo. Wala silang, hindi na nila hinahati-hati na 20, 50, gano'n. So, ang emphasize lang namin dito is, bawat isang distribution utility or electric cooperative, hindi pantay-pantay o pare-parehas ang pagbibigay ng diskwento. Ang kanila kasing basihan is paano nila mako-cover ang karamihan ng kanilang mga lifeline rate beneficiaries. Siyempre, kung hindi kasya yung pondo, magkakaroon ng unequal distribution, di ba? So, para ma-preserve yun yung ginagawa ng ating mga distribution utilities na ina-approve naman ng Energy Regulatory Commission. Kagaya nitong graph na to, makikita nyo rito, ang karamihan ng nag-i-implement ay yung nasa 20 kilowatt-hour consumers. Pero hindi lang ibig sabihin yan, part yan ng isang distribution utility. Yan lahat yung karamihan na 57% na yan, ang nag-represent, ibig sabihin yan, one time lang yan, or one rate lang yan. Pag nag-21 kilowatt-hour consumer ka na, wala ka ng diskwento. Ganun ang ibig sabihin itong graph na to. So, meron tayong mga distribution utilities na iniiba't-iba rin nila kung paano nila i-implement ito. Tapos may additional na data. Kaya lang, wala akong summary. Haba eh. Pasensya ka na.
Medyo siyempre po, nagtataka lang din tayo kung paano magiging accurate yung mga datos kung wala tayong mga pagbabatayang tamang figures at estimate lang po, di ba?
Meron po tayo. Ito nga po, marami, nakatulang hindi kami nagagawa ng summary.
Sana po meron sana.
Nailagay na lang namin sa graph. So, kung dyan titingnan natin, ibig sabihin, 57% ng ating mga distribution utilities ay nasa 20 kilowatt-hour consumption ang kanilang subsidy. So, yan more or less yung figure na nagsasabing ganito yung karamihan na 20 kilowatt-hour consumers natin.
Karamihan po ba dito sa mga kababayan natin 20 kilowatt per hour ang consumption ay mga nasa malalayong probinsya po ba? Or even dito sa Metro Manila, marami pa rin po yung mababa lang yung nakakonsumo kuryente?
Bali po ganito, yung pong distribution natin ng subsidy, bago itong extension, simple lang po yan. 20 kilowatt-hour consumer ka, regardless kung nasaan ka, regardless kung sa ano yung bahay mo, kuminsan ka pa nga may maliit na tindahan, ganyan, nagkasari-sari store, ano, qualified ka na kagad. Hindi kine-qualify sino ka. Ang ano lang is, oops, bill mo 20 kilowatt-hour, may diskwento ka na. Pagdating dito sa extension program from 2022 hanggang 2051, binigyan na natin ng qualifier. Target beneficiaries na ang tawag natin. dito natin ngayon ipinapasok yung 4-piece member, no? Kung sino yung registered sa DSWD na 4-piece, sila ngayon yung makakatanggap. So ang distribution natin ng mga 20 kilowatt-hour nung lumang programa, magiging kakaiba sa programa natin ngayon. So ito ngayon, nakabase yung 20 kilowatt-hour consumers natin doon sa listahan na binigay ng DSWD as 4-piece member. Ngayon, kung titignan natin, ang karamihan po talaga ay nasa mga rural areas.
Sir, kapag ka po ba gumraduate na sa 4-piece yung isang household, pero same pa rin ang kanyang consumption, do we still consider them dun sa subsidy yung binibigay po ng government? Or kailangan alisin na rin sila, simula na sila sa 4-piece. Kung baga gumraduate na po sila.
Tama po yun. Nag-graduate din sila doon sa Lifeline Rate Program. Ano po, bakit po? Kasi ang layunin po natin dito, kaya natin binibigyan sila ng subsidiya, ay para maiangat yung kanilang social standing. Para magkaroon sila ng encouragement na bakit ako limitado ng gamit, kaya may subsidy. At inaalis po natin yung idea na yon. Kaya natin sila binibigyan ng subsidy at this time is para iangat sila, lumaki. Di po ba karaniwan sa atin, kapag ka medyo nag-increase na yung income natin, ano yung bibili natin? Dati-dati saka lang tayo nagluluto, kahoy ng panggato. Pag may pabili na tayo ng LPG na tayo. Pagka meron po tayong konti pang pag-angat, bukod sa LPG, meron na po tayong rice cooker. So, tataas na po yung konsumo natin. So, in fact, yan yung isang threshold na sinasabi natin na yung poverty threshold natin, ito po yung naiiangat namin. In fact, ito po programa natin, kasama po ito doon sa ambition natin 2050. Kaya, in-extend natin hanggang 2051. So, ina-align po natin yung lahat ng programa ng gobyerno, nasama-sama sila na napapaunlad natin, lalong-lalo na doon sa ating mga tinatawag na mga maralitang mga kapatid. At ito pong ating mga maralitang kapatid ay hindi lang po nasa rural areas. Marami pa rin po sa mga urban areas, not necessarily dito po sa Metro Manila. Salamat po.
Clarification na po, 2022 to 2051 na bago pong ng batas, mga 4-piece at saka yung mga low income na lang po. Wala na yung kung 20 kilowatt-hour ang iyong konsumo, pasok ka ngayon, hindi na po ganon. Sir, bakit po subsidy sa halip na sikapin ng ating gobyerno na pababain na lang yung presyo ng kuryente dito sa ating bansa?
Maraming salamat po sa inyong katanungan. Talaga pong napakaganda nun. No? Hiwalay pa po yung layunin ng ating national government na maipababa yung presyo ng kuryente. Ito po pagpapababa ng presyo ng kuryente ay para sa kalahatan, hindi lang po para sa ating mga 40 members o kaya naman po sa mga maralisang mga kapatid natin. Diba? Maging nasa lungsod man sila o nasa mga bukirin. Lahat po ng idea, lahat po ng prinsipyo na iginagawa natin. For example, narinig nyo naman po sana na ang target natin, mabawasan po yung ating dependent sa imported fuel. Kasi kaya naman po tumataas yung presyo ng kuryente natin. Kasi tumataas yung fuel natin eh. So, isa pong mamamaraan natin is mag-develop tayo ng indigenous resources. Kung kaya tayo mismo doon sa ating Philippine Energy Plan, nakasaad na po doon na by 2030, 35% renewables na po. Kasi renewables, hindi natin ini-import. Dinidevelop natin dito locally, indigenous yung ating mga renewable energy resources. At pagdating ng 2040, dapat 50% na renewable. So in that sense, yung pong ating mga imported fuels o yung dependence natin from other countries, mababawasan natin at hanggang 50% na lang, if possible. If at the very least, yun po yung tinitingnan natin. Kasi target po yung 50% pero hindi po ibig sabihin nun hanggang doon na lang tayo.
Sir, doon po sa bilang ng mga, kasi natanong kanina nung sa natin kasama na ilan na yung medyo sabi niyo, mababa pa po. Are you expecting na mas marami yung mga makikinabang po dito sa subsidy na ito sa 2022 to 2051 compared dun sa naunang implementation po ng batas?
Well, dun po sa binigay na estimate po, o dun sa binigay na listahan ng Department of Social Welfare and Development, between 4 to 4.2 million households po yung ating mga 4P members. So, ibig sabihin po, napakaliit pa na ngayon. Ngayon, paano noon before yung kasali yung 4P qualification? Hindi naman po ganun karami, kaya lang mas marami po yung nakikinabang na hindi po 4Ps. So, maganda po ngayon kasi targeted na yung ating beneficiaries. Alam natin kung ano yung tinatarget natin. Kung sakali man po madagdagan pa yan, ay dahil nga po makapag-identify pa yung ating Philippine Statistics Authorities na yung mga kasamahan natin o mga kapatid natin na ang kanilang income ay mas mababa doon sa poverty threshold. Salamat po.
Thank you po.
Hello po, good morning. Noah Talakit po ng PTV News. Sir, sabi mo parang pag-understand ko, parang nabawasan yung mabibigyan ng subsidy under Lifeline. So, sa palagay niyo po, meron po kayong data kung ilang person po ang mawawala?
Maraming salamat po doon sa katanungan. Bali ganito po kaya mawawala. Yung pong ating bagong batas na nagre-renew or nag-extend ng ating Lifeline rate program, sinasabi dapat 4 Ps na lang na mababa ang konsumo ang makikinabang. Sa kasalukuyan po, hanggang ngayong buwan na to, lahat po ng konsumidor natin ng kuryente na mas mababa o hanggang 100 kWh, lahat sila nakikinabang doon sa Lifeline rate subsidy. So eventually po, pagdating po ng billing natin, at pagpasok ng September, mawawala na po yan. Eliminated na kagad lahat kung hindi registrado. Okay, 4 Ps ka, kaya hindi. Kung hindi ka registered, ano ka na, balik ka na sa dating rate. Yung kung ano yung rate ng kuryente sa bawat franchise area ng MDUs. So yun po yung lahat na mababawas. Madadagdagan po yung currently registered only if yung mga 4 Ps natin ay magre-register. Pag hindi po nag-register, wala pong basingan ang mga distribution utilities natin para magbigay ng diskwento na naaayon sa ating Lifeline rate subsidy program.
So, hindi po pala automatic kahit nagbigay ng listahan ng DSWD na 4.2 million yung kanilang nasa listahan.
Salamat po ulit sa clarification. Tama po kayo, hindi po automatic kasi hindi po alam ng ating distribution utilities kung naninirahan doon sa franchise area nila yung identified ng DSWD. Pangalawa, hindi po nila alam kung nangungupahan at kung sino nagme-may-ari ng kanilang tinitirahan. Hindi rin po nila alam kung, karamihan po sa ating mga 4Ps, alam naman natin, isang bahay, 3-4 na pamilya. So, sino po sa kanila yung tunay na 4P members? Wala po tayong data niyan. So, ito po yung kailangan, at may establish po lang natin yan kung sakaling magre-rehistro sila sa ating mga distribution utilities. Hindi po kakayanin ng ating mga distribution utilities na sila mismo yung magbahay-bahay at tanungin, 4Ps ba kayo? Ito ba yung member ng ganito? Hindi po kakayanin. Baka po abutin tayo ng, sabihin natin, maaaring abutin tayo ng isang taon, hindi pa tayo natin na-officean. Ayaw naman po natin maputol yung subsidy program.
So, na-inform na po ba yung mga 4Ps na kailangan nilang gawin itong proseso na ito para makinabang po sila doon sa subsidy? Nagaya ng sabi niyo, kung nangungupahan lang sila, ibig sabihin hindi sila qualified dahil ang may-ari ng bahay, siya ang merong Meralco billing, di mo ba?
Tama po kayo. Kami po ay gumamit ng iba't ibang mga avenues para po ipaalam sa ating mga konsumidor ng kuryente na dapat pong mag-rehistro kung sila ay 4Ps members. Katulong po natin dyan ang DSWD, ang Energy Regulatory Commission, at maging yung ating pong attached agency sa Energy Family, nandyan po ang National Electrification Administration. At bukod po dyan, nagbigay po kami ng kalatasan sa lahat ng distribution utilities at electric cooperatives na gumawa sila ng sarili nilang promotion, information, and education campaign para po makapag-hikayat ng madali ang pagre-registo. So, halos nationwide po ang ginagawa namin. Sa ngayon po, meron din po kaming mga media campaign. At isang malaking tulong nga po yung itong binigay sa amin ng Philippine Information Agency na may focus press con pala rito. So, isang malaking tulong po ang nagawa ng PIA sa Department of Energy dahil malawak yung kanilang nasasakupan.
Paano po natin ma-ensure na yung subsidy na gusto ipaabot ng ating gobyerno sa mga kababayan natin mahihirap, mapapakinabangan po talaga, hindi naman ito mauhulog lang din, kagaya ng ibang mga programa na sa korupsyon?
Wala. Pasensya na po kayo, no? Maraming po salamat doon sa inyong kanila. Pero wala po kaming nakikitang corruption kasi lilinawin lang po namin, ang subsidy program po na ito ay cross-subsidy. Hindi po ito subsidy na pera na kinokolekta, na binibigay ng gobyerno sa ating mga distribution utilities at electric cooperatives. Ang contribution po para doon sa subsidy ay nanggagaling din po doon sa ating ibang consumer, sa kagaya po natin na mayroong kakayanang magbayad ng serbisyo ng kuryente. So tayo po yung nagbibigay ng tulong sa ating mga beneficiaries.
So hindi po pala talaga direkta ang government, kundi yung mga good payer na mga consumer din po ng mga iba't ibang power utilities.
Tama po kayo, pero hindi lang po yung good payer. Pati po yung hindi nagbabayad, sisingilin din.
So kami pala sir, mag-handle.
Tayo po, sali tayo.
Tayo ang mag-shoulder niyan.
Opo.
Ano naman po magiging pakinabang ng mga mag-shoulder para sa ating mga mahihirap na kababayan? Ano naman yung kanilang pwedeng matanggap na kapalit from the government or the mga power utilities? Meron bang discount, holiday, parang ganun po?
Sa mga iba po paraan natin na iibigay yung parang panuklit po. Ang unang-una po namin ginagawa ka dyan is naaayon po sa mga rules and regulation ng ating Energy Regulatory Commission kung paano po makakapag-deliver talaga na efficient at reliable ang ating servisyo ng kuryente. In fact, kung mapapansin nyo ngayon, kapag meron tayong mga kalamidad, isa lang po ito sa pwedeng sitwasyon na makinig ko, pag nagkaroon po tayo ng mga kalamidad, hindi na po tayo masyadong natatagalan sa restoration. Kung magkaroon man po tayo ng balang, yung delay na tinatawag natin sa pagre-restore, hindi po ito solely dahil wala tayong kakayanang mag-restore. Kalimitan po ang nagiging encounter natin, yung mga areas na naapektuhan ng mga kalamidad, hindi po natin papasok. Either binaha ng mataas pa sa atin, or nagkaroon po ng pagbuho doon sa mga kalsada o daraanan para doon sa mga service areas natin, or hindi po natin maipaabot kagad yung ating mga serbisyo dahil na rin po sa hindi tayo magkaroon ng information na nanggagaling kung saan yung apektadong mga areas. Dahil pati po communication ay naaapektuhan. Pero kagaya po nitong huling bagyo na dumating sa atin, si Egay, hindi po kalakasan talaga yung hangin dahil nasa labas naman po ng Pilipinas nung malakas yan. In fact, nag-land po lang siya dun po sa Northern Cagayan. Pero dahil malawak po yung kanyang rain band, malaki po ang may kalakihan din ang naapektuhang areas natin sa Northern Luzon. Ang isa po sa mga serbisyo na nabigay po natin is nagtutulong-tulong po. Meron po kami tinatawag na Task Force Kapatid na kung alin po yung mga pinaka-apektadong mga distribution service areas natin, tumutulong po yung ibang mga electric cooperative at distribution utilities. Tulong-tulong po sila na maitayong kagad at ma-restore kagad ng serbisyo.
Last na lang po, curious lang po ako, Sir Mario, ano yung parang pass-on provision ang dating nung issue-shoulder ng mga consumer, yung subsidy ng mga may hirap natin kababayan? Pass-on provision po ba yung parang gano'n? Or or paano po maipapasa sa atin yung subsidy na yun ay bibigay sa ating mga mahirap na kababayan po.
Okay. Although yung pong direktang sagot dyan ay dapat magagaling sa ating Energy Regulatory Commission. Hindi po siya direktang kung tawagin natin ni pass on. Kasi ang una pong tinitingnan ng ating Energy Regulatory Commission is magkano yung pwedeng i-share ng ating mga consumer. Tapos kung ano po yung pwedeng i-share ng ating mga consumer na may kakayanan para magbayad, saka po yung hinahati-hati base sa kakayanan din po ng distribution utilities. Kung kaya, mapapansin po natin, bawat distribution utilities, iba't iba po ang kanilang mga beneficiaries. Hindi po pare-parehas. Dahil naaayon din yan sa kanilang kakayanan sa kolekta at naaayon din sa kakayanan ng kanilang mga konsumidor na magbayad na kuryente.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
The floor is open for other questions. Yes.
Ngayon ko lang alam, sir, na may ano din pala yung purpose. Nasa kanila lahat. Sir, anyway, makikibalita lang kami, sir, kasi anniversary ng National Electrification Administration. Ano ba yung bago ngayon with partnership ninyo sa DOE?
Ano po yung bago? Ano po ibig nyo sabihin sa bago?
Meron ba kayong mga bagong programa na in partnership with the National Electrification Administration para sa mga kababayan natin?
Okay, maraming po salamat sa katanungan. Although medyo labas na po yan doon sa Lifeline Subsidy Program natin. Narinig po natin ang ating mahal na Pangulo na nagdeklara na dapat po magkaroon na tayo ng 100% access to electricity services by the end of this term, so 2028. Isa po sa commitment ng kagawa ng enerhiya sa pamamagitan po ng National Electrification Administration ay to complete the task na binigay po ng ating mahal na Pangulo. Kung kaya isa ko po ngayon sa pinakamalaking programa ng ating National Electrification Administration is to supervise and guide all our electric distribution utilities, particularly the rural electric cooperatives, on how to attain yun po kanilang 100% electrification by 2028. Salamat.
We have further questions from our media partners. Hearing none and seeing none, we would like to thank our resource persons, our guests, Assistant Secretary Mario Marasigan and Assistant Director Luningning Balcazar. Now, may we ask for short closing statements from you, as well as PIA Director General Jose A. Torres Jr.
On behalf of the Department of Energy, of course with my boss here, ASEC Mario, thank you very much to the PIA first for allowing us to share this good news, and also to our friends in the media. We are hoping that you will share this news and encourage our 40s and the marginalized customers to register already with the Lifeline-based program. Thank you very much.
On my part naman po, again, i-reiterate ko po sa malaking pasasalamat namin sa Philippine Information Agency dahil sa pagbibigay sa amin ng avenue, ng opportunity na magamit yung kanilang platform. Alam po namin na meron pa silang mga regional offices, so bukod po rito, alam namin, may ipakalat natin yan sa pamamagitan po nila. At sabi nga ni Assistant Director Ning, magandang balita to para sa ating mga formis, at kailangan po natin na matulungan sila na makatanggap ng balita at na makapag-rehistro sila bago dumating ang Setyembre. Dahil kung hindi pa po rehistrado ang ating mga formis pagdating ng September, makikita nila doon sa kanilang mga potentially makikita nila doon sa kanilang billing statement for September, magbabago yung kanilang rate ng kuryente. again, maraming salamat po. At lalo na po sa inyo, sa mga PIDYA partners, no? Alam po namin na malaki rin ang inyong nasasakupan. At in fact, sa paniniwala ko po, kayo po yung mas madaling magdala ng balita doon sa ating mga target beneficiaries. So, maraming salamat po din sa inyo lahat.